Welcome. My name's Doug Aberley and I'm the Chairman of the Centre for Engineering, Leadership and Management. And tonight is the second in one of our series called Engineering Frontiers. We came up with the idea about a year ago that it would be really useful, helpful and interesting if we were able to interview some of the engineering luminaries who've had outstanding careers and basically hear from them about a couple of things. One, how they got to where they are, and in particular what they see as the frontier or the edge, if you like, for up-and-coming engineering leaders to be focusing on going forward, what they envisage the future holding.
While I did first year engineering and then spent 2 years as a Mormon missionary in New Zealand, and I guess I learnt some key lessons from that. One is how to deal with rejection, which happens pretty much all the time, and the second was...
It's just those Kiwis.
Yeah, and I guess the second thing was really the experience of living for other people and seeing lives change and kind of living for their success, and just how much joy there is in that. And so that probably was my best education, I think, of everything I've done. And I can see, it's continued to bless me since then. Yeah, well, one blessing is I have stayed active in church, and so when we moved to Perth, we had a sort of church family straight away, which is really a great thing, it really helps. And also know the power of prayer, so I spent a lot of time on my knees during those early days, praying for our customers. But I'd also, just some basic things. Most people don't go back, so it's a huge differentiator if you just go back and visit your customers. And I figured out that it takes 7 visits before you can really say you've tried. And the first visit, they absolutely don't want to see you. And the second visit, they're trying to remember if they've seen you before. And then the third visit, it's kind of, there's some kind of rapport starting to happen. And then each time you have to go and offer something and, add some value in some way and try to do that. But by the 4th or 5th visit, you've become either a nuisance or, a friend of some kind. And by the 6th or 7th, you find that there's opportunities to do things and work together. And the great thing is that most of your competitors only visit once, and so you've got to get in straight away. And just helping, I kind of understood that concept from my missionary days again, but it's a really powerful one. And the second thing is that you have to add value. So there's whatever you're doing, whether you're working for a company or providing services to other companies, you're only there because you make a difference and add value. And just painting the vision of that for people working in Worley Parsons and understanding the concept that we could never relax. Whatever we were doing, you had to go to another step. You had to find the next solution, the next best way of contracting. Or you weren't going to stay in business. No one wants what they had before. Well, a fundamental thing for me is the most important thing you can do is help the people you're working with to be successful. That's, it sounds obvious, but if your entire focus is that, and you're not looking to prove that you're able to do anything, but you're just saying, that's my job, is to make the people around me successful, and include in that network your contractors, vendors, customers. That's your job. I mean, certainly as a Worley Parsons service provider, that was absolutely our job. Didn't matter how competent or incompetent your customer was, if you helped them to be successful, fill in the gaps that they had, help them, you can't help but be successful yourself. It seems pretty obvious.
It does, but it involves projecting yourself into their space and putting their well-being first.
Understanding what they need and also what they can do. And probably the second thing there is that, some of the most valuable people in your network are also the most difficult. And don't expect that because someone is challenging to communicate with or something else, that they can't add incredible value. So don't look for people like you, that you get on with well and everything else. And so some of the toughest characters I've had to deal with have been just so good at the thing they're good at that it's worth putting up with the rest. Yeah, so I have one of my weekend jobs. I'm currently a leader in the church, and I have a position called in Area 70, and the assignment crosses the Pacific. So I'm away about 20 weekends a year visiting parts of Australia and New Zealand, but also the islands, Samoa, Tonga, Vanuatu, exotic places, PNG. And there's nothing like going to a remote village in the back islands of Fiji, having a church conference with 600 people where 2 people in the whole congregation have got a cash-paying job. Everyone else is subsistence farmers. And you sort of think about, we talk about schedules and clocks and time and organisation and structure, and they're thinking about, where's the next meal coming from? And it's so humbling to see the love, the support, the faith, the competency, the way that community works when you're involved in a project spending $600 million a month. The comparison's enormous, but you realise these are incredibly valuable, wonderful people, and there's so much we can learn from them. And so that's been a huge blessing for me, just being able to I guess, have the luxury of living in 2 different worlds, and also saying, well, what can I offer these incredibly good people, and trying to work that out. And so that's been it's one little thing.
You talk about them as 2 different worlds, but you managed to integrate them, it seems to me.
Well, we're just all, I'd say we're all God's children, but we're all on the earth together, and we all have a part to play, and you really do recognise that, and and what we're doing is not necessarily better; it's just different.
It's just different,
and you kind of get that. Okay, great. I mean, I think it's probably take a while to explain, but relationships are everything. The team is always that's where all of the solutions, everything comes from that. And I guess working with people, trying to lift people's thinking, and I don't know if I've been good at that or not, but it's amazing if you can just get people above the problem to actually look down on it and say, what are we really trying to achieve here? It's incredible what people do. I have amazing faith in the ability of human beings, I guess, to come up with solutions and develop things. If you just get the thinking at a high enough level, get in the helicopter and have a look at it from a different perspective, and then build the vision of what has to be done. And the other thing is to paint a vision. So I think as leaders, if we can constantly be painting a vision of the next step, people can achieve it. But you've got to kind of paint it with a bit of colour so they get a feel for it. But you can do anything, really, if you just believe it's possible. From a faith perspective, it's, the proper name for the Mormon Church is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It is an incredible organisation. It doesn't have any paid ministry, so all of the church members take all the leadership roles, and you kind of move from, there's no progression. So you can be a Sunday school teacher one week and a leader like I am at the moment, but when I'm released from that, I'll be back to, whatever, next. So that's great, but the biggest focus that the church has is on the value of family. And so my wife, my children, everything to me. And religious practice at home is simple things like praying together as a family on our knees every day and reading some scriptures together. Old-fashioned things, I guess you'd say. But developing faith together at home is a really key part. And that has been, again, such a blessing in my life. With all of the stuff going on, you could really get carried away with how exciting life is. It just brings you back to earth to focus on your family. I'm so blessed. I've got a beautiful wife. We've been married for 35 years. We've got 4 children. They're all now married, which is unusual, I think, in the world today. We've got 8 grandchildren. They're the absolute treasure. They're the real blessing of life. So all the other stuff, when it comes to the end, really doesn't matter that much, but they really do matter.